Hello everyone. My name is Jarmanpreet Singh and I am student of database 1, that is CSIS 2300. Firstly, I want to give an overview of database. Here, first question arises that what is database and why do we need it? A database is an organized collection of data, that is tables, queries, reports, views and other objects. Every system needs at least one database to store the inputs. DBMS is a computer software application which is used for this purpose. Here my topic is about the relational model. Firstly, I want to discuss about chapter objectives. The chapter is about we have to learn the need and foundation of the model, understand the difference between relational and non-relational model, learn basic relational terminology, learn the meaning and importance of keys and related terminology, understand how foreign key represents relationships, learn the purpose and use of surrogate keys, learn the meaning of functional dependencies, learn to apply a process of normalization reactions, learn the conceptual foundation of the relational model. The relational model is most commonly used technique in database processing these days. It was published and founded in 1970 by Ajay Frank Code. This model is used for design and implementation of all commercial database worldwide. We will further discuss about foundation of relational model in this chapter. A sample relation and two relations. Characteristics of a relation. Rows contain data about entities, column contain data about attributes in the entity, table cell holds a single value, whereas the order of rows and columns are unimportant. Two rows can now hold identical set of data values. Keys and type of keys. Definition. A key is one or more columns of a relation that is used to identify a row. It can be unique or non-unique. Types and definitions. Composite key, that is a key contains two or more attributes, is called a composite key. Candidate and primary keys. Candidate keys are that uniquely identify each row in a relation, whereas the primary key is the candidate key that is selected as the key that the DBMS will use to uniquely identify each row in a relation. This figure shows about all things about primary key. The key symbol indicates which column or columns are being used as primary key. Sample non-relational model, multiple entries per table. The employee table in this figure is not a relation because phone column has cells with multiple entries. See, for example, Tom Carthanas has three values for phone, whereas Mr. Richard has two values. Multiple entries per cell are not allowed in a relation. Also, each cell can have only one value, which can vary in length only. Keys and type of keys continued. Surrogate key is a column with a unique DBMS assigned identifier that has been added a table to be the primary key. Foreign keys. When we place values from one relation into second relation to represent a relationship, the values we use are the primary key values of first relation. Why do we need this? The attribute in the second relation that holds the values referred to as a foreign key. In this figure, it shows a foreign key that is between customer and enrollment. Function and dependency. Function dependency is a set of constraints between two attributes in a relation. Functional dependency says that if two tuples have same value for attributes a1 and a2 so on up to an, then those two tuples must have same values for attributes b1 and b2 so on up to bn. Functional dependency is represented by an arrow sign that is x to y, where x functionally determines y. The left hand side attributes determine the value of attributes on the right hand side. Normalization. Database normalization, or simply normalization, is the process of organizing the columns and tables of a relational database to minimize data redundancy. Normalization involves decomposing a table into less redundant tables without losing information, and then thinking the data back together by defining foreign key in the old table, referencing the primary keys of new ones. The objective is to isolate data so that additions, deletions, and modifications of an attribute can be made in just one table and then propagated through the rest of the database using defined foreign keys. Relational database principle. Design principle. We can formulate the following design principle for what we can call a well-formed relation. First step: for a relation to be considered well formed, every determinant must be a candidate key. Any relation that is not well formed should be broken into two or more relations that are well formed. These two principles are the heart of normalization. The process of examining relations and modifying them to make them well formed. This process is called normalization because you can categorize the problem to which relations are susceptible into different types called normal forms. The normalization process: identify all the candidate keys of the relation, identify all the functional dependency in the relation, examine the determinant of functional dependency. If any determinant is not a candidate key, the relation is not well formed. In this case, place a column of functional dependency in new relation of their own. Make the determinant of the functional dependency the primary key of new relation. Steps of normalization process. First step of normalization process to according to this process, we first identify all candidate keys. Prescription number clearly determine date, drug, and dosage. If we assume that prescription is for only one person, then it also determines customer name, his phone, and his email. By law, it must be for only one person. So its number is a candidate key. Its second step is we now identify all functional dependency, its number, and all other attributes. Summary: the relational model is most important standard in database processing today. It was first published by EF Code in 1970. Today, it is used for design and implementation of almost every commercial database. And entity is something of importance to a user that needs to be represented in a database. So, at last, thank you very much for giving your precious time